Look at these flowers and the bees. So we always, a lot of times, think about flowers in the springtime, but we get a lot of flowers in the late summer and the early fall too. I took some videos a couple of years ago of the bees right on up until, I don't know, remember how late in the year it was. It was very late, and you could see the bees were coming out on the flowers, and the bees were getting slower and slower because it was getting colder and cold, not cold, but chillier and chillier. I mean, for the bees are insects, so they need it to be warm out before they have to go hibernate in their hives, or I don't know if they technically hibernate, but they live in their hives during the winter. Yeah, but look at all the bees out. We've had all that rain. We just had a month of rain straight, and it rained again last night. And now it's lots of moisture in the ground. It's not as hot. I mean, it's still summertime, but it's not 90 degrees. It's in the upper 70s, low 80s, and humid. So lots of moisture. That's good for these beautiful flowers. But and the bees are probably very happy that I don't think they can do very well when it rains as much as it rained. I don't know how the bees actually find enough time to get their food when it's raining as much as it rained this summer. But now they're out, and look at all these beautiful. That's a type of hibiscus, and I don't know what these little pink flowers are, but they're pretty, aren't they? And so, yeah, the weather in the fall or late, so we're not in the fall. We still got a month of summer left, but we're last month of summer. And there's a butterfly, and it's good conditions for the insects and for the flowers and for the animals too. It's just, we can still get some really hot days, but it's just like when it's so cold in the winter, the animals don't like the extreme heat either. They like it. They like it probably pretty much kind of like the people like it. So there's been a lot of good fishing this year, but and it just, there's that butterfly. I don't know what kind of butterfly that is. You can look him up, I guess. What kind of butterfly are you? Oh, there's two of them. Yep. Just gives you a chance to appreciate things as beautiful flowers from nature. Look at this green grass, these green colors, green leaves, a cedar tree, and a pine tree, a myrtle bush. Yeah. So a bay tree. It's a little holly tree. A little, not a yopon. Yopons are in the holly family. Yeah, that's a yopon. Yeah, so good. Just a nice breeze. Yeah, the yopon tree is the Native Americans made a drink with it, a tea with it, and it's got caffeine in it. I think that's a Yopon. So you got a caffeinated. Caffeine is a defense against. For humans, it has an effect on our nervous system, and in the right quantities, it's small. In proper quantities. People drink too much. I drink too much coffee. People could drink way too much caffeine to the point that it's not good for you. But small amounts, a little bit of caffeine, especially when you get older. Probably not as much so when you're young, but when you get older, get to be a full-grown adult, a little bit of caffeine is associated with some as long as it doesn't affect you too much. You don't want to drink a lot of caffeine if it keeps you up at night or anything like that, but a little bit of caffeine in the day has associated with some health benefits, and mostly though with it's combined with like drinking a good quality tea or a proper amount of coffee, just like I think it's like less than 16 ounces a day or something of coffee, which is not much of coffee, not with any sugars in it and anything like that, because you can take away the health benefits of coffee when you start making these kinds of drinks that they make with all the mess in it. That's not really coffee. And even coffees that are made traditionally in other parts of the world haven't been shown to be that good for your health either, because they prepare them in a way that also extracts the oils from the coffee, and apparently those oils might not be good for us. But just the traditional drip coffee that we drink here in the United States, which other places in the world don't think is that good, but that water, the water soluble compounds in the coffee have some, maybe a little bit of the caffeine, and then there's some other compounds in the coffee that might, in the right amounts, not overdoing it, may have some health benefits. And same thing with green tea. Green tea has a lot of good qualities to it for most people. It's got something called epicatechins. They're catechins. They're a family of molecules that are associated with good health. So yeah. Yopon's has caffeine in it. I wish I could capture some more wildlife, but I'm not seeing any little critters running around. I did think these flowers were beautiful. I know you love flowers. You were just you were like a little botanist when you were only 3 years old. You were naming flowers and remembering flowers and pointing them out, and you knew the colors really well. You were very, very good with colors, and of course, art. So, those are all great things. Just follow your heart, and nature and the good things in life are recognizing those for yourself and not letting other people tell you, how to be. Humans, we know when something's right, feels right. We know that nature makes us feel good. We know that exercise makes us feel good. We know that eating well makes us feel well. We know the kinds of activities and things that we do that makes us feel good. And do it for yourself, because people will have a way of trying to steer us too much, and it's going to happen. You're going to have people in your life that try to do too much of that. There's a fine line between helping somebody and giving them proper advice, and trying to interfere too much. That's when people start to objectify another person. Instead of trying to help them, they see that person as sort of under them or belonging to them in a way that's not appropriate with life. I mean, obviously there's in organizations and businesses and schools, and there is a hierarchy that makes the system work. There's an appropriate system. but when people start to, and it can happen within organizations, but it can also happen just within families and friends, general life acquaintances, and when people, they have a problem in terms of how they view the worth of other people, and you gotta, you realize you're going to run into people like that, but if you have set your compass and you can guide yourself back to the things that you know are right and good, then you can move through life making the appropriate decisions about how to deal with those other kinds of people, whether it means just not having them in your life, or in some situations it's kind of hard not to have them in your life, so you have to then learn how to have the big challenge of navigating and working with them, and some people, a lot of people like that, it's just moderate way that they are, and you can certainly deal with it. There are going to be some people that you're going to really just need to outright move away from. There's just not time for it. So, and it can be very hurtful. And these can even be people that will, at some level, they probably even do care about you with a lot of them. Some of them not at all, but they still, will view us as their objects, and so if they're particularly malintent with their actions, then you gotta really cut ties with them, and they can be fairly convincing. A lot of those people have very much learned how to change their projection or their image to try and maintain their influence. That's, again, we don't want to be overly critical of people. Once we kind of get hurt by people, we tend to also go too far to the extreme and categorize everybody as being bad. Everybody's flawed. That's kind of the hard part about it all, is just every person, every single human being, myself included, has flaws. And so it's kind of, can be tough to decide where you're just dealing with somebody and their normal flaws, and when you're dealing with somebody who's got real severe malintent, or if they don't think that they have malintent, their actions are creating a permanent kind of negative consequence. It gets really complicated because you start getting into tyrants and leaders of countries and leaders of groups and organizations, and starts to be sometimes in the weird way, cultures will need, I say need because they don't know of a better way, to have these people who somehow in some way fit into a culture. It's by most logical thinking and philosophy, if you looked out from the outside into that culture, you would say it is not a healthy culture. It's not a healthy way to exist. But yet they've accepted this kind of person, this kind of malintent person, as a leader, and then within that environment, the leader tends to be effective, because the whole society is sort of off kilter, and so they, if you ask some people, like I'm gonna just say, for example, a lot of the nations and countries of the Middle East, for example, and I've talked to people who are from those regions, who live or who grew up there, who were from those areas, And they will say that they believe that those societies need a dictatorial leader, a tyrant. Well, those tyrants are people who are cast in this very unhealthy kind of personality that we don't personally need to be free and sovereign to ourselves, as America believes the Constitution was based on. That doesn't mean everything's perfect. I mean, the Constitution is an ideal. Doesn't mean we live up to that ideal all the time. But it's weird that, you look over there and you say, man, don't they want to have more of an independence to themselves, so to speak, and maybe some of them do, but I'm not trying to put everybody into one basket. But I've talked to business people and successful people that have come from that part of the world, and they actually accept that they believe that it's better to have these kinds of, they got to keep everybody in line, with sort of this primitive philosophy. And that's what Christianity and Christ was trying to teach us, is that we don't have to be that way, that we are all brothers and sisters in God, all of us. Even people who are not Christian are brothers and sisters. It's between us and Christ. We're not supposed to put ourselves above others in any kind of value, because we don't know. We're not supposed to judge. We don't know where they come from. We can't say that they are supposed to be Christians, in the sense that, that makes them less than us, or we don't know their journey and what they will, what God has planned for them. And that's a big difference between Christianity and these other religions. They sort of invite a violence and a tyranny to their societies. And this is not just several of the major religions around the world, kind of by putting themselves above people of other religions, they ironically create an environment that invites an authoritarian kind of control over them. I don't know how, but I don't know why I'm going all there, other than just to say, set your compass and be, so that you can be independent, and you can see other people as independent individuals, and you can see them as their own person, so that you can see yourself as your own person. And that's the basis of all men are created equal. And when we say men, that means men and women, just all humans, mankind, all of mankind is created equal. Of course, that doesn't mean that we don't have different roles and different skills. That's not what equality means. Equality is not how much money you have, or it's not. The equality is in and how God sees you. We are all equal under God, and we all have our own roles to play. And when we do them right, and we do them without jealousy, and we do them without contentment, and we do them with our understanding that we all each have individual skill sets, that doesn't make us better than other people or worse than other people. It makes us just us. And when we all just operate peacefully with one another, with that understood, we don't have resentment, or we don't worry about one person has more money than the other person, and this and that and the other. We have a very strong society and community, and we help one another, and people live happy and joyful lives. And there's just a lot of people now who, and it always has been, but they want to tell you that's different. Say, if one person lives in a big house, that means they're happier than a person who lives in. It's not about the material things. If the person who lives in the smaller house, for example, is living with their needs met, and they because everybody's cooperating and helping one another in the most fundamental way, not by some directorial dictatorship, some sort of direction from higher ups, but just through fair and equal commerce and interactions with one another. People, the happiness is there. There's people who are extremely happy on each ends of the wealth spectrum, but it depends heavily on having a mindset amongst your living in a society where we respect each other's value as equal. That's the equality part, is that we have equal value to God. And therefore we're all, brothers and sisters, and we all have been granted different attributes as humans. I love you. Enjoy this beautiful planet.